Please be aware that in Espanol, we do not use apostrophe S, okay, to indicate possession. In fact, Spanish does not use apostrophes at all. It doesn't exist in our writing, okay? So, you may say, well then, Santos, how would you use possession? How would you indicate that something belongs to someone, okay? I'm glad you asked, because we do it 2-3 different ways, okay? The easy, short way, okay? You have the object, the word de, and then the owner, okay? El libro de Elise, okay? In English, we would say Elise's book, all right? And sometimes students want to say Elise's libro. No apostrophe S in Spanish. We never use apostrophes for anything, okay? El libro de Elise, okay? If I want to say, in this case, Tyler's phone, I would not say Tyler's teléfono, okay? But, no, you just gave me a prop, gracias. El teléfono de Tyler, okay? That's how we indicate possession. Now, the longer way, okay, we actually throw in a verb. So we could say something like, let me do a different color, el libro es de Elise, or el teléfono es de, what did I say? Tyler. Muy bien. Okay. This would be more if you're like answering like, whose phone is this? You know, and Callista says, oh, el teléfono es de Tyler. That's Tyler's phone, okay? So you're being just a little bit more, I guess, specific, a little bit more formal, all right? Now, okay, this leads us to our next thing, which we don't use apostrophes in Spanish for possession. We also don't use them for contractions. We don't use apostrophes ever. I always have to emphasize that. What is a contraction? Do not becomes don't, okay? Should not becomes shouldn't, okay? In Espanol, there are only 2 contractions in the entire language. Dos. Today, you will learn 50% of them. You can tell people that. I know 50% of all contractions in Spanish. All right, I learned that this semester, okay? The professor's pen, okay? El bolígrafo de el profesor. If you ever have the word de next to the word el, you contract it to del, okay? If I was just referring to, let's say, Tyler as just a student, like nothing else, not using his name, el teléfono, because he's a male, el estudiante. But once again, if you ever have de and el together, got the E, it's del estudiante, okay? El teléfono del estudiante, all right? Once again, no apostrophes, because we never use apostrophes, even in contractions, number 1. Number 2, in Espanol, you always have to make a contraction, okay? In English, it's optional. You can say, I do not know, all right? Or, I don't know, Okay, you could do either one. And just as an FYI, I know I'm not an English teacher, but when it comes to academic writing, never use contractions. You will lose points. All right, it's just one of those weird grammar rules. You don't use contractions in formal writing. All right, okay, whereas in English it's optional, in Spanish it's you have to. All right, it's mandatory. All right, now your textbook, if you look on page 58, all right, everything I just explained is in that first half of the gray box. Okay, it gives you the two forms of indicating possession, whether it's the short form or the slightly longer form. Okay, and then it talks about contracting whenever you have de and el together. If you look to the left of that, okay, many times you hear Spanish speakers, when they're talking about their children, okay, use something called mijo and mija, which is actually a contraction of mi hijo or mi hija, which means my son or my daughter. Okay, now I know I told you there's only two contractions in all of Spanish, and grammatically, yes, okay, there's only two sets that actually contract. But most Spanish speakers, I would say like 99% of Spanish speakers, will do this verbally, even though it's not like a grammatically official contraction. All right, I would never refer to like my daughter as mi hija. I would literally just say mija. All right, just kind of contracting it all together into one word. So while it's not official, it is used frequently, and maybe someday, the powers that be will say, you know what, let's add 2 more contractions. So now we have 4 in the whole language, as opposed to just 2. Okay? Preguntas. Then, the last way that we form possessives in Espanol, okay, are possessive adjectives. Okay? And we do this in English also, okay, where we use the word my, or the word your, or the word our, okay? My phone, my book, my pen, okay? If I'm talking to Elise, your backpack, okay? If I'm talking about Peyton, his hat, okay, type of thing, all right? I suppose I could say Peyton's hat, all right, but I could also say his hat. I could say Elise's backpack, but I could just say her backpack, okay, type of thing, all right? Now, the difference, of course, because there's always going to be a difference, is that for every one in Espanol, there are 2 words, all right? Both mi and mis mean my, okay? Except that we use me if it's one thing, we use mis if it's plural, all right? All you have to remember is that it's determined by the object that is possessed, not by the owner, okay? Mi bolígrafo, my pen. Mis bolígrafos, my pens, okay? Mi papel, my paper. Mis papeles, my papers, okay? There's only one of me, but I'm using the plural form because I have 2 papers, all right? Same thing if I was talking to Elise, tu libro, your book, but I'm assuming she has lots of books in her backpack. Tus libros, all right, your books, okay? Now, here's where it gets a little bit confusing because for the singular, your, his, her, its. The plural, your and their, T-H-E-I-R, it's the same, su or sus, okay? The only thing that matters is the number of objects, all right? If I'm talking about Elise's book, it is su libro. If I'm talking about Elise's books, sus libros, okay? If I'm talking to the three of you and I say, I want you guys to bring your books next class, it's sus libros. Even though it's this your, it's still sus, okay? If I'm just talking to Tyler, and let's say he is older than me, and I say, could you please bring your phone, su teléfono, okay? You know, it doesn't really matter as long as the object is either singular or plural. I'm going to use it if I'm talking to her, about her, to all three of you, to only one of you, okay? It's either su or sus, but is there one or is there more than one, okay, object, all right? Now, our. Here we also add gender, but once again, not the gender of the owner, but the gender of the object possessed. Okay? Peyton and Tyler decide to buy their Spanish book together because it's expensive, and they're always together anyway, so they're just going to share it. Okay? And so at this point in the semester, they are referring to it as nuestro libro, our book. All right? Why is it singular if there are two guys? How many books are there? One book, so we use the singular. Okay? This experiment goes so great that Tyler and Peyton decide to buy a table together. Okay? One weekend it's at Tyler's place, one weekend it's at Peyton's place. All right, yeah, it's like shared custody. Okay? And so they refer to it as nuestra mesa, our table. Wait a minute, Santos, there's two of them. Why is it singular? Ah, but wait, Mr. Santos, they're both guys. Why are you using the feminine? Mesa is feminine. Okay, so nuestra mesa. All right. Same thing with vosotros, the vosotros form. Okay, I could talk once again to the three of you and say, please bring vuestros libros a la clase. Okay, does that mean I'm ignoring Calista? No. All right, but yeah, all's y'all's. But in this case, are books masculine or feminine? They're masculine. Okay, so I'm using the masculine form. Because I can say, for example, in the vosotros form, I want you all to take your chairs and put them outside. And I can say vuestras sillas. Okay? Does this mean Tyler and Peyton just get to sit there? No. Why am I using the feminine? Because chair is feminine, yeah. So vuestras sillas, okay? Take your chairs and put them outside. Okay? So, object possessed, not the possessor. Okay?